हरि ओम् आपादमौलिपर्यन्तां गुरूणामाकृतिं स्मरेत् तेन विघ्नप्रणश्यन्ति सिद्धन्ति च मनोरथः लक्ष्मीं तनोतु नितरामितरानपेक्षमङ्घ्रिद्वयं निगमशाखिशिखाप्रवालं हैरम्बम् अम्बुरुहडम्बरचौर्यनिघ्नं विघ्नाद्रिभेद शतधारधुरन्धरन्नः सर्वेषां स्वागतम्. So this is the third session of the second verse of Sri Rama Gita. This is the session on positive psychology. So the concept that is very predominant in the second verse of Sri Rama Gita is learned ignorance. Learned ignorance. Where we come across this, second shloka tells us about the story of Nriga, Raja Nriga, who accepted the shapa given to him by the Brahmanas. Whether it was his direct involvement was there in that mistake or not, he accepted it. Now the question arises, if we don't know what the path of karma is, if we don't know what the consequences lead to, then how can we be aware of it? If we are not aware of it, why should we be responsible for it? So here, King Nriga accepting the shapa actually shows his learned ignorance. Now, what is this learned ignorance? In positive psychology, learned ignorance is the knowledge that I don't know something. That is being aware that I don't know something. That is called as learned ignorance. Why is this important? There is a popular psychiatrist by the name of Carl Jung. He's an American psychiatrist. He says ignorance can actually lead to both positive developments and negative developments. Negative development is when we agree that we don't know, and how much ever we try, we will not know. Therefore, why try? This is one way of looking at it. The positive way of turning ignorance is using the awareness that you are ignorant or you do not have knowledge about something, and then trying to be conscious, trying to build a consciousness that can help us curate our actions. So here, Nriga accepts that he don't know how his karma has actually panned out. It may not be, he is aware of the fact that he was not directly involved, or he did not make that mistake intentionally. He obviously did not make it intentionally. He did not donate to one cow to the same cow to the two brahmanas intentionally. That would be much bigger folly. But if he was not involved directly, then how did he agree to it? Because he showed learned ignorance. He agrees that something is within his control, and the rest of it is beyond his control. And therefore, what happens beyond his control is something that he is not aware of. Now, the negative end of it, why should we know it anyway? Whatever we do, how much ever we try, we'll not be able to control it. Then why should we be held responsible for it? Because you are the initiator. Somebody else could have done the same karma. But the negative impact that has happened, negative of any impact that has happened, has actually arisen from your karma. So there, for example, now exams, let us say an exam is about to start. I did not study for the exam. The immediate consequence I can understand is that I will not get good marks. Maybe I'll even fail. But then if it carries on, I got less grades in that exam, and the people who are assessing me, who are trying to understand my growth, they, looking at my performance, frame a judgment or assess that I'm a dull student. I'm a dull student. That was not my problem. That was not directly linked to me, right? Right. So why should I be termed as so? Because me being termed as a dull student carries some other consequences. I'll probably be hounded a little more as to work harder, explaining it in a very elaborate manner, repeatedly explaining it, maybe thinking that I won't understand it. So it may lead to content being dimmed down for me, telling it in a way that that is very like you're preaching to a simpleton, a fool. We cannot directly tell a concept to a person, therefore we dim it down for that person. Because my the people who have assessed my progress feel that I'm a dull student, they will obviously start treating me that way. Now, is that my problem? Is that because it is not because of anything that I did, but it is coming out of that judgment, that assessment is coming out of my karma. So now, when this usually happens, I cannot get thin, I cannot reduce my weight just by saying that I know whatever I do, whatever I try, I'll always gain weight. Therefore, I'm not going to try to reduce my weight. This is a diet related thing that is prevalent, a trend that is prevalent everywhere. People become anorexic, they start eating less and all that. There are different psychological inflictions that usually students face or bring it upon themselves. But technically speaking, if I know that I need to do something to change my karma, if I need to know that I need to do something to change the result, and I don't do that, the immediate consequence is that there is non-performance of that karma, but then that also lead to some other consequence. And me saying that I am not the initiator of that is wrong. Just because I will eventually put on weight, just because I will eventually put on weight, the notion that I will not work out at all, that I will not do any exercise at all, or I won't even make a effort to reduce my weight, is giving rise to a karma that will obviously lead to something bigger, something much more prevalent. It may lead to a consequence where it may increase some health problems. Then I cannot say, okay, I got obese because not nothing. It's not because of my problem. It's not because of something that I did. Because conscientiously, I am keeping myself away from that karma that is trying to reduce the risk of obesity. Me trying to stick to a proper diet would have actually reduced the risk of obesity. But because I thought that I'm not going to, regardless of what I do, I'll always keep putting on weight. So I should, what is the point of trying? This can actually lead to a much worse of a consequence that I will have to suffer. So King Nriga here understands that there is a certain difference in the karma that he has to perform. He's not, obviously he was not in charge of taking care of the uh, cattle herd, but as a king, if he could not even take measures to separate that cattle herd, that one that he had to donate, from the one that he had already donated, then as a king it is a quality that he lacks for a good king. And think of it in, if we apply that lagging on his character, or on his kingship on some other quality, it might look huge. Like, for example, maybe in administration, maybe in taxes. So therefore, he understands that at a broader angle, what he has done or what inadvertently has happened, he is the initiator for that, and therefore he accepts it. So this learned ignorance is a concept that is very deep, because if we look at from the end of Lakshmana also shows learned ignorance only when he understands that he does not know the reason why Rama did whatever he did. Rama ordered Sita to be exiled. So only when he understands that this is not something that I can sit and I can, frame a conjecture about. I cannot sit and think, why did Rama do that? Rama must have felt this way, that way. He cannot sit and he can think of it on his own. That is acceptance that he doesn't know something. The need to understand. Most of the teachers, usually after a class, ask the students, do you have doubts? There are two kinds of answers that you can get from their silence. That is, if they don't ask any questions, there are two kinds of answers you can get from them. One, they have not understood the class. They have not understood the concept, or they were not present. Their mental presence was lacking. The second is that they feel that they know that concept so well that they don't want to ask a question regarding that. Even when we know something, I already heard of Ishvara Prasada Bhavana. I've already known about Ishvara Samarpana Bhavana, because I always used to say Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. I know about it. But asking a teacher about it will enable me to a wider or a much bigger answer that can give me a broader perspective. My perspective, my point of view is limited to my experience only. From a guru's point of view, it can actually broaden it. So asking a question is important. But before we ask that question, we should understand that our knowledge about that question may not be adequate. Even if it is the same answer that we are going to get, an answer that I know might be repeated to me, even then it is important to ask the question, because it might be conveyed to me in a different way. So therefore, learned ignorance is a very broad concept, a part of positive psychology. This is shown in both the characters. That is, it is shown in Lakshmana also, that Udara Buddhi actually takes a lot. It's a very big umbrella term for a quality that he has endowed. It is endowed to Lakshmana. So Lakshmana, through his selfless service that he has given, he has developed that. He does not judge anyone immediately. Otherwise, you can always assume, because he has stayed with Rama for such a long time, at least 14 years more than the other siblings. All right. He has the right to judge Rama. Technically speaking, he has the right to judge Rama. But why doesn't he do it? Because knowing himself and knowing Rama, he knows that there is a higher reason that he may not be aware, but might be the reason why Rama did something. So better to ask him. Why should we presume it? So acceptance of him lacking that knowledge is very important. That is learned ignorance. And it leads, there is something called as the locus of control. There is a locus of control, understanding that I can control certain actions within a certain locus. Beyond that, it is out of my control. So this learned ignorance doesn't just stop at a psychological level. It also leads to your actions within my locus of control. That is within my locus of control, as in within that range where I am in control. Learned ignorance enables me to perform better. So what is my what is my locus of control? I can prepare for a class. That preparation is within me, my efforts. I should get the material. I should prepare for the class. I should know the topic. I should maybe go through examples, etc., etc., etc. That is within my locus of control. What is beyond my locus of control, external locus of control? The questions that the students ask. I don't know. I cannot preempt what kind of questions the students are going to ask. That is not within my control. Their learned ignorance can help us accept that we too need some help. Somebody asks me a question, some student, I taught a class. After a concept has been explained, a student asks a question. It's not necessary that the answer must be given immediately, because I need to first realize that, do I know this answer? If I do not know the answer, or if I have not thought of it in that manner as has been questioned, then I need to accept that ignorance. I need to accept that learned ignorance. And when I do that, I detach myself from the expectations that I have, that is coming out of my karma. My karma was I taught the class. Expectation is that from that I'll be praised because I've taken a class in such a way that all the students have understood. When a students ask a question and I don't know the answer to it, they're being aware that I am not able to answer that question is not a negative trait. There it leads to personal growth. So there I have to say, I will come back because it leads to personal growth. There I have to go through, I have to try to understand what the question is, and I have to reteach that. So it has led to an added knowledge for me. So this learned ignorance can lead to personal growth on a personal level. That is, it can also lead to rebuttal to the egoism that grows into us, that I am the doer, that it can be rebutted. So here, learned ignorance is a very beautiful concept that has been shared in through the second verse of Sri Rama Gita. And this Ishvara Samarpana, how is this connected? Ishvara Samarpana and Ishvara Prasada Bhavana, how is it connected? See, learned ignorance is basically detaching. Acceptance of your own ignorance basically tells you that you can be detached from your expectations. How? I have done a karma that is supposed to give me some phala. If I accept that that karma is out of my control, after what I have performed, after performing it, it is out of my control. Knowing this, that I don't know what will happen beyond that, will get my mind adjusted to the karma phala. My mind will get adjusted to the fact that what I'm expecting and what I will receive may not be the same. So this reconciliation happens through Ishvara Samarpana Bhavana. That is the reason I'm doing a Samarpana of that, because I'm not sure. I can't carry that, the path of the consequences of my karma. I cannot carry that forward. I can only build it to one extent. I can only do it to one extent. After that, what happens is beyond me. So therefore, this learned ignorance being a concept, Ishvara Samarpana, Ishvara Prasada Bhavana can be an instrument, a symbolic instrument to initiate the detachment from our karmas. Therefore, the task or the activity is to use Ishvara Samarpana as much as possible. That is, after any karma that we do, you can always do a Samarpana to our Ishta Devata, maybe Shri Krishna Arpanamastu, Sri Ramachandra Arpanamastu, Ishwara Arpanamastu, anybody, but to a higher power, to our higher power, saying that it can be an instrument. So inculcating that Samarpana Bhava and Ishwara Prasada Bhava can help us develop learned ignorance, and in turn can help us detach from the expectations that we have from our karma or karma phalas. So with this, this is the positive psychology concept that is hidden in the second verse of Sri Rama Gita. As to, we will end the session. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः प्रतिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महीमहीषाम् गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यद्यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि।